something to fix. However, because of some prior medical issues, I'm limited in how much I can lift and bend over.
Good afternoon. Welcome to our December 1st formal meeting of the Phoenix City Council. I will call the meeting to order and ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilwoman Ansari.
Here.
Councilman DeCiccio. Councilwoman Guardado.
Here.
Councilwoman O'Brien.
Here.
Councilwoman Pastor. Councilwoman Stark.
Here.
Councilman Waring.
Here.
Vice Mayor Garcia.
Here.
Mayor Gallego.
We have an interpreter here with us to provide Spanish interpretation. Elsie, would you introduce yourself?
Thank you, Mayor. Hello, my name is Elsie Duarte. I'll be serving as the Spanish interpreter for today's City Council formal meeting. I will now take a moment to introduce myself to our Spanish-speaking audience. Hola, buenas tardes. Bienvenidos a la reunión formal del Consejo Municipal. Mi nombre es Elsie Duarte y estaré sirviéndoles hoy como intérprete a nuestra audiencia de habla hispana. Deseamos pedirles de antemano, al momento de dar un comentario público, favor de hablar despacio, con claridad y evite tener distracciones de fondo. Finalmente, haga una breve pausa después de cada una o dos oraciones para poder interpretar lo que esté diciendo de la manera más completa posible. Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you, Elsie. I'll turn to our city attorney after our city clerk reads the 24-hour paragraph.
The titles of the following ordinance and resolution numbers on the agenda were available to the public at least 24 hours prior to this council meeting and therefore may be read by title or agenda item only. Ordinances number G6920 through 6929, S 48123 and 48133 through 48170, and resolutions 21979 through 21980.
Thank you. Public comment plays an important role in the city council meeting, and I'll ask our city attorney to introduce that portion.
Thank you, Mayor. Members of the public may speak for up to 2 minutes to comment on agenda items. Comments must be related to the agenda item and the action being considered by the council. General comments that go beyond the scope of the agenda item must be made during the citizen comment session at the end of the agenda. Speakers must present their comments in a respectful and courteous manner. Profane language and personal attacks on members of the public, council members, or staff are not allowed. A person who violates these rules will lose their opportunity to continue to speak.
Thank you. Vice Mayor, do we have a motion on boards and commissions?
Yes, motion to approve Mayor and City Council boards and commission nominations.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. Passes unanimously. Vice Mayor, do we have a motion on the reappointment of municipal court judges?
Yes, motion to approve Phoenix Municipal Court judge nominations.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, nay. Passes unanimously. Want to thank our judges for serving the city of Phoenix, and we look forward to swearing in at our next council meeting, I believe, for their returning service. Want to thank them. We had great testimony about the innovation in our court system and the great work that they are doing. We next move to liquor licenses. The city of Phoenix serves in an advisory role to the state of Arizona. Vice Mayor, do we have a motion?
Motion to approve items 3 through 18, except items 17 and 18.
Second.
In a second, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Any opposed, please signal nay. Passes unanimously. Item 17 is in Councilman Waring's Council District. I will turn to him for a motion after a brief comments from Leah Swanton.
Good afternoon, Mayor and members of the Council. I am Leah Swanton with City Clerk, and with me today is Alexandra Lang with the City Prosecutor's Office. This request is for a new liquor license for a restaurant. This location was previously licensed for liquor sales and may currently operate with an interim permit. The 60-day limit for processing this application is December 11th, 2021. Staff recommends disapproval of this application based on a police department recommendation for disapproval due to the applicant's failure to complete the required city questionnaire and for failure to pay the application fee. The applicant has not demonstrated the capability, qualifications, and reliability to hold and control a liquor license.
Thank you. Councilman Waring.
Mayor, is the applicant here or a representative?
We do not have anyone here on behalf of the applicant.
Can I just, I'm going to make a motion to disapprove. I did have one question for staff. This isn't like they had previous violations or anything. This is, they didn't fill out the form, if I'm understanding it right, and they didn't pay the required fee. I guess my question is, how did it even make it onto the agenda, given it seems like they must have had an incomplete application?
Councilman, thank you for your question. Yes, we do have, by state statute, we have a 60-day limit for processing all liquor license application. And for this one, it is December 11th. So we did have to bring this particular one to council in order to have a city recommendation to move forward to the state.
Okay, so even if they don't do all the required paperwork, Mayor, we still have to vote on it. Okay, that makes as much sense as anything, I guess. Mayor, I'm going to make a motion to disapprove.
I'll second that, Mayor.
Wonderful. We have a motion and a second. Any council comments? Roll
Just a
call.
quick one, Mayor. The fact that the applicant does, Mayor?
Please go ahead, Councilman DeCiccio.
Oh, it'll be really quick. The fact the applicant didn't even show up for an important hearing like this is not a good sign. I mean, even if it's a slam dunk, applicants show up, you know. And the fact that they gave an incomplete form, as Councilman Waring was talking about, it's just pure sloppiness. They're not that they're complicated, but they're not that complicated. All right. Well, thank you, Mayor. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Councilman. Roll call.
Ansari,
Yes.
DeCiccio,
Yes.
Guardado,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Pastor, Stark,
Yes.
Waring,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
Gallego. Passes 9-0.
Thank you. And as I mentioned last week, thank you to our staff for doing the work to get us to these council recommendations. Item 18 is in Councilwoman Ansari's district. I will turn to her after brief comments from Leah again.
Good afternoon, Mayor and council members. I'm Leah Swanton with the City Clerk, and with me today is Alexandra Lang with the City Prosecutor's Office. This request is for a new liquor license for a restaurant. This location was previously licensed for liquor sales and may currently operate with an interim permit. The 60-day limit for processing this application is December 4th, 2021. Staff recommends disapproval of this application due to a finance department recommendation for disapproval. The applicant has not demonstrated the capability, qualifications, and reliability to hold and control a liquor license.
Thank you. Councilwoman Ansari.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to disapprove item 18 per staff's recommendation.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any comments? Roll call.
Ansari,
Yes.
DeCiccio,
Yes.
Guardado,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Pastor,
Yes.
Stark,
Yes.
Waring,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
Thank you so much. City Clerk, are we ready for ordinances, resolutions, new business planning and zoning?
Yes, Mayor.
Vice Mayor, do we have a motion?
Can you hear me, Mayor?
I'm sorry, I could not hear your motion, Vice Mayor. Could others?
Okay. Motion to approve items 19 through 87, except the following. Items 19, 23, 25, 26, 36, 38, 42, 45, 60, and 83 through 87. Items 28, 50, 51 are continued to December 15th, 2021, and excluding these items for public comment, 29, 38, 39, 73, and 87.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion from the Vice Mayor, a second from Councilwoman Stark. Any comments? Roll call.
Ansari.
Yes.
DeCiccio.
Yes.
Guardado.
Yes.
O'Brien.
Yes.
Pastor. I apologize. Pastor.
Yes.
Thank you. Stark.
Yes.
Waring.
Yes.
Garcia.
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
We next move to payment ordinance items, beginning with item 19, the North American Regional Airports Council International. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve item 19.
Second.
Motion and a second. From my perspective, this is a membership that's well paid for itself over the last year. Any additional comments? Roll call.
Ansari.
Yes.
DeCiccio.
No.
Guardado.
Yes.
O'Brien.
Yes.
Pastor.
Yes.
Stark.
Yes.
Waring.
No.
Garcia.
Yes.
Gallego. Passes 7-2.
We next move to item 23, Radix Meta Systems. Do we have a motion?
I move to approve. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments? Roll call.
Ansari.
Yes.
DeCiccio.
Yes.
Guardado.
Yes.
O'Brien.
Yes.
Pastor. I apologize. Pastor.
Yes.
Thank you. Stark.
Yes.
Waring.
Yes.
Garcia.
No.
Gallego. Passes 8-1.
Item 25, American Waterworks Association Annual Payment Authorization.
Motion to approve item 25.
Second.
Thank you, Vice Mayor and Councilwoman Stark. Any comments? Roll call.
Ansari.
Yes.
DeCiccio.
No.
Guardado.
Yes.
O'Brien.
Yes.
Pastor.
Yes. Yes.
Stark.
Yes.
Waring.
Yes.
Garcia.
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 8-1.
We next move to item 26, Arizona Forward membership renewal.
Motion to approve item 26.
Second.
Thank you. Arizona Forward has been our important partner on urban waterways, on transportation sustainability, and so many other projects. Looking forward to supporting this one. Any additional comments? Roll call.
Ansari,
Yes.
DeCiccio,
No.
Guardado,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Pastor,
Yes.
Stark,
Yes.
Waring,
No.
Garcia,
Yes.
Gallego. Passes 7-2.
Item 29 is an amendment to the pay ordinance for employee incentives. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve item 29.
Again.
Thank you. This item was removed from the consent agenda for public comment, but I understand we do not have anyone here to comment. Is that accurate?
Yes, Mayor, that's correct.
Wonderful. Council comments. Roll call.
Ansari,
Yes.
DeCiccio,
Yes.
Guardado,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Pastor, Stark,
Yes.
Waring,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
Item 36 is authorization to enter into agreements for investigative services. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve item 36.
Second.
Councilmember questions or comments? Roll call.
Ansari,
Yes.
DeCiccio,
No.
Guardado,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Pastor, I apologize, Pastor, Stark.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I did hear that last one. Thank you, Councilwoman. Stark,
Yes.
Waring,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 8-1.
Item 38 is a request to enter into an agreement with the Justice Center for COVID-19 supportive services for seniors experiencing homelessness. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve item 38.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any council comments or questions? Roll call.
Ansari,
Yes.
DeCiccio,
No.
Guardado,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Pastor, I'm sorry, Pastor.
Yes.
Thank you. Stark,
Yes.
Waring,
No.
Garcia,
Yes, and a big thank you to Justice Center for all the work that they do in the community.
Gallego. Passes 7-2.
The good news continues with 39 CARES Act CDBG reallocation with partners at Salvation Army and CAS. Vice Mayor, do we have a motion?
Motion to approve item 39.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, and we do have Mandy Porter Griffith here to comment, so we will turn to comments.
My name is Mandy Porter Griffith, and I'm the Director of Phoenix Family Services for Salvation Army. And I just wanted to call and thank you for your consideration in this matter, and just briefly tell you a little bit about what we do. So currently, I just want to recap, you may have seen in the news, but we are experiencing an influx and an increase in families, people with children who are experiencing homelessness. This is due to a lot of different factors, but loss of income, crisis in the family, that type of thing. So I looked at the numbers on the wait list for shelter in April 1st of 2021, and there were 14 families waiting for shelter. And I looked at today's list on December 1st, and there are 194 families waiting for shelter on the wait list. So as you can see, that is a huge increase, and we are seeing the effects of that in our community. We have an emergency shelter here that specifically focuses on families, on people with children under the age of 18 in their household. We provide, of course, shelter, and we have case management and vocational services and an amazing children's facility. And in addition to that, we also work with the families who are on that wait list, that 194 families. We have a street outreach team that goes and meets them where they're at and is providing water, food, hygiene products, gas cards, bus tickets, things like that while they wait for a spot in a shelter. But our team has not increased. Even though that number has increased from 14 families to 194, our staffing has remained exactly the same. So we did put in a proposal to increase that and to fund those programs. And that's what's on the docket for today. So thank you so much for your consideration, and we appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Mandy, and please thank your colleagues for the work they are stepping up to do in a time of need. I think it's a point of pride for this council that we are spending more investments ever in both preventing homelessness and supporting service providers. Council comments. Roll call.
Ansari,
Yes.
DeCiccio,
No.
Guardado,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Pastor,
Yes.
Stark,
Yes.
Waring,
No.
Garcia,
Yes.
Gallego. Passes 7-2.
We next
Mayor?
move to item,
Mayor?
yes, Councilman DeCiccio.
Yeah, I'd just like to change my vote on that to yes. Sorry about that. That was an error on my part. I wrote it down wrong.
Thank you. And our city clerk, will you reflect Councilman DeCiccio's support for Salvation Army and CAS?
Yes, Mayor, thank you.
Wonderful. We next move to item 42, authorization to enter into an IGA with Maricopa County Community College District for Urpa Workforce Program.
Motion to approve item 42.
Second.
A motion and a second. Thank you so much. And noting that Councilwoman Pastor will not be participating in this one. This one was a little bit of a surprise to me because we were originally going to partner with a community-based organization on this item, but now are partnering with the community colleges. Council member comments. Roll call.
Ansari,
Yes.
DeCiccio,
Yes.
Guardado,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Stark,
Yes.
Waring,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
Gallego. Passes 8-0.
We next move to item 45, the downtown camera project. Do we have a motion?
I move to approve item 45.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Council questions. Roll call.
Oh, Mayor? Oh,
Councilman DeCiccio.
if I could have done on the vote. I just think that this idea of putting cameras on, our street corners is just a bad idea. A lot of cities around the country, San Francisco, others, are all getting rid of their cameras. They're all concerned about the facial recognition. This is one that crosses all party lines, and putting them out there is something where I think we're going to end up regretting in the future. I think these cameras are going to be used for other things. It's going to chill protests, people wanting to have their free speech. It's going to chill that because they're going to have cameras on everything. Why do you think in China with the Uyghurs, they have had major issues? They have to cover their faces. Even when they cover their faces now, the technology literally can capture somebody on how they walk. Even if they try to fake their walk, they will eventually go back to their normal pace. And those cameras will capture everything about everyone. We're losing our privacy. We're losing our individual liberties because of things like this. The best thing we can do as a city is just say no. We can always talk about what the policies could be, but future councils can always change it. It's always better never to go down this path. I'm concerned how these cameras are going to be used in the future, and I think it's going to be a problem. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Share similar concerns to Councilman Verdecicio. I think in a time where we're being investigated for civil rights potential violations, it is not the right time to move forward. Some concerns that we had were answered. There won't be facial recognition or audio to these cameras, but I still think there's the ability to chill First Amendment rights, and would hope that we think about this, or at least wait until the DOJ lets us know what they find out before we move forward with something like this. I also asked this of the police department and the chief. I would hope that these cameras are not used for offenses like people without living without shelter, or other types of issues that we were told these cameras were not meant for. And I'll be voting no on this item. Thank you.
Mayor?
Additional comments?
Mayor,
Councilwoman O'Brien.
thank you so much. Is there somebody from the police department there to answer questions?
Mayor, this is Lori.
I think Lori.
Chief Williams is here to answer questions. She's on her way down.
Thank you so much.
Mayor, members of council, Councilwoman O'Brien, myself and Commander Brian Lee are at the table to answer questions if you have them.
Thank you so much for being here today to answer questions. Can you tell us a little bit about the cameras we would be purchasing with these funds, please?
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor, members of council. With regard to the type of cameras, these are going to be high-resolution 4K cameras that will be installed in fixed positions.
And are these new additional cameras, or are they replacement cameras?
Mayor, members of council, these will be a combination of replacing cameras that are now inoperable, as well as relocating multiple cameras that have either reached end of life or at a point where they need to be redistributed to affect the grid because of the skyline in the downtown core that has changed over the years.
And how will we use these cameras to help us for our police department?
Madam Mayor, members of council, these cameras will be used in a variety of ways. They are very utilitarian in their purpose, in the sense that they can be used as a force multiplier for law enforcement. It gives us the ability that with just a small number of personnel, we can manage multiple locations simultaneously. It also allows us the ability to be able to remote view which can also serve as a de-escalation tool for police, allowing us to be able to remote view public safety activity and only have to intercede as necessary if an incident were to occur.
Thank you. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to add the last thing is that these cameras also allow us the ability to ensure that the citizens do have their opportunity to exercise their First Amendment rights and protect civil rights by not having to worry about officers being physically present at every single location, and it gives us the ability to scale back our police presence in a uniform capacity.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for answering those questions. I think it's important for our citizens and visitors to not just feel safe, but to actually be safe. And part of that is, fighting crime, and in a time when we're also have a reduction in force allows us to multiply, as you just said, the workforce that we do have and a safer ability both for our officers and our citizens. So I think it's long past due that we replace these cameras to increase our safety, especially with all the large events that are coming to our city, like Super Bowl, March Madness, Final Four. And those are events that are critical economic development for our downtown area. I would hate to see us potentially lose future events because we aren't able to protect our folks while they're here. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Chiefs.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Any additional council comments? Roll call.
Ansari.
Yes.
DeCiccio.
No.
Guardado.
Yes.
O'Brien.
Yes.
Pastor.
You hear me?
I did not hear your vote, Councilwoman.
Yes.
Thank you. Stark.
Yes.
Waring.
Yes.
Garcia.
No.
Gallego. Passes 7-2.
We next move to item 60, materials testing and construction and administration, inspection on-call services for light rail extensions amendment. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve item 60.
Second.
Any comments? Roll call.
Ansari.
Yes.
DeCiccio.
No.
Guardado.
Yes. Yes.
O'Brien.
Yes.
Pastor.
Yes.
Thank you. Stark.
Yes.
Waring.
No.
Garcia.
Yes.
Gallego. Passes 7-2.
We next move to item 73, final plat Circle K northwest corner of 19th Avenue and Southern. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve item 73.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We do have Mark Rodriguez here to provide comment. Mark, the floor is yours.
Okay. Hello, Mayor Kate Gallego and everybody at the Phoenix City Council. It's good to hear from you all again. It's because I used to live on 19th Avenue in Southern. I used to live over there where that Circle K is at, and now they have a Quick Trip, Walgreens, a gas station, Family Dollar, and Dollar General, and the Little Caesars over there. And I used to go to John R. Davis over there back in the day when I was a little boy and all that stuff, because it's kind of living over here on 19th Avenue in Southern where me and my mom used to live, but now we live in Levine and all that stuff. And it's kind of having fun to all of you guys to have a conversation for all of you. The shout out, yes. Yasmin Asari, I see you at the Cityscape at the downtown Phoenix. Deborah Stark Ann O'Brien. Thank you for the card that you ladies gave me. Betty Wangado, Laura Pastor, Carlos Garcia, Jim Waring, Sal DeCiccio. Although Sal DeCiccio, I'm still not a fan of you, dude, but I respect you, dude. It is what it is, because Mayor Gallego, I always like to shout out to you too, because I like seeing you all the time and all that stuff, because thank you for that happy birthday, and I hope you got your thank you card from the mail, because I send you a thank you card because, you know, it is. Now we live on this area on Levine, because I live in Levine for like 12 years, and I used to live on 19th Avenue in Southern one since I was born, even though that was my birth year, that was my childhood home and my neighborhood. And also, have a wonderful time. Have a wonderful day, everybody.
Thank you so much, Mark, for your testimony in favor of this item. Roll call.
Ansari,
Yes.
DeCiccio,
Yes.
Guardado, O'Brien,
Yes, and I'd like to thank Mark for the card.
Pastor,
Yes.
thank you. Stark,
Yes.
Waring,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
Item 83 and 84 are related items, so we'll have a joint public hearing for both. I will open the public hearing. We do not have any members of the public to comment, so I will close the public hearing. I will turn to Councilwoman Pastor for motions.
Please move item 83.
Thank you, Councilwoman. And would you like to recommend approval of the item based on the Planning Commission's recommendation and adopt the related resolution?
Yes, I meant to read that right after. Thank you.
Second.
Any comments? Roll call.
Ansari,
Yes.
DeCiccio,
Yes.
Guardado,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Pastor,
Yes.
thank you. Stark,
Yes.
Waring,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
Gallego. Passes 9-0.
We next move to the related item 84. Councilwoman Pastor.
Please move item 84 with the staff. Staff recommends approval of the item based on the Planning Commission's recommendation and adopt the related ordinance.
Second.
Any comments? Roll call.
Ansari,
Yes.
DeCiccio,
Yes.
Guardado,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Pastor,
Yes.
Stark,
Yes.
Waring,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
Gallego. Passes 9-0.
Items 85 and 86 are related cases. I will open a public hearing. We do not have any of the members of the public here to comment, so I will close the public hearing. Councilman Waring, what is your pleasure?
Move to approve.
Based on the Planning Commission's recommendation and adopt the related ordinance? Resolution.
That sounds good.
I'll second it.
Second, Mayor.
Any comments? Roll call.
Ansari,
Yes.
DeCiccio,
Yes.
Guardado,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Pastor,
Yes.
Stark,
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Waring,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
Gallego. Passes 9-0.
Councilman Waring, do you have a motion on 86?
Yeah, I recommend approval of the item based on the Planning Commission's recommendations and adopt the related ordinance. I was going to say all that last time, Mayor. I just wanted to see if you could do it from memory.
It's when you test me.
Second.
Thank you. Any additional comments? Roll call.
Ansari,
Yes.
DeCiccio,
Yes.
Guardado,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Pastor.
Yes.
Thank you. Stark,
Yes.
Yes.
Waring,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
Gallego. Passes 9-0.
Our final agendized item is item 86, related to the southwest corner of 40th Place and Indian School Road. We do have two presentations on this one. Each side will have 10 minutes. There are two speakers to register to speak on either side. For the applicant, we'll begin with John Oliver, and for the appellant, we'll begin with Jennifer Johnson Collier. If the first speaker chooses to take all 10 minutes, the second speaker will not have any time, and the second speaker can begin when the first speaker yields time. Councilman DeCiccio, do you have any comments before we open the public hearing?
No, I think we should have just a very brief, I think everyone's very familiar with this case. I think we should have a very brief presentation from staff, talking a little bit about what happened at the village, planning commission, those kinds of things.
Wonderful. We will welcome our planning director.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. This rezoning request is a request to rezone a property at the southwest corner of 40th Place and Indian School Road from R16 single-family residential and R5 multifamily to RO residential office, which is a restricted commercial district that only allows office uses for a professional office, in this case an architect's office. Staff does recommend approval subject to stipulations. The Camelback East Village Planning Committee heard the case on October 5th, recommended approval per the staff recommendations by a vote of 11-0. The Planning Commission heard the case on November 4th and recommended approval per the Village Planning Committee recommendation with an additional stipulation by a vote of 7-0. The Planning Commission recommendation was appealed and a petition for a 3/4 vote was submitted and verified, and so a 3/4 vote is required to approve the rezoning of this application. And with that, I'm happy to answer any further questions.
Any questions for Alan? Wonderful. And for the applicant, we have only John Oliver online. We will begin with Mr. Oliver.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, members of council. Name and address for the record. I'm John Oliver from Tiffany and Bosco, 2525 East Camelback Road, 85016. We've heard it from Alan and we've heard it from staff. The reason we're here this afternoon is we're seeking approval of the Planning Commission's recommendation, which is to rezone the property located at 4048 North 40th Place from R16 to RO. Next slide, please. This slide just shows the general location of the property. Again, we all know where it's located on the southwest corner of Indian School and 40th Place in the Arcadia Light region. Next slide, please. This slide shows the current zoning map of the property. What we're doing here is the property located on the hard corner on the southwest corner of Indian School Road and 40th Place is where my client, Studio Law, currently operates their business and their use. That property is zoned R5. They have a need to expand. Business is doing well. The owners live in Arcadia Light and live nearby, and they don't want to relocate the office, so they approach the property owner to the south of them, and they have agreed to purchase that property. That property is zoned R16. So again, the request is to rezone the entirety of the property RO. just some background that's not shown based off the case title. When we got involved in the case this summer, the initial zoning request was to zone the R16 property south of the existing property to R5. We worked with Neil Haddad and we worked with the adjacent neighborhood associations, and we heard that an R5 intensive use was not enjoyed, was not favored. So we agreed to change our request to downzone the existing property to RO and then upzone the additional property from R16 to RO. So that's just some background that's not included on these slides. Next slide, please. This slide will show the site plan. This will show what we intend to develop, what we intend to build. There's a few things I'd like to bring to the attention of Mayor and Council. The first thing is that all of the traffic will circulate off of Indian School Road. There's no access to 40th Place. Our parking lot does not go through to 40th Place. Our client cannot use 40th Place. In fact, there's a stipulation on the case that says there is no access permitted on 40th Place, and that's exactly what this site plan shows. Also, the property is sufficiently parked per Section 702 of the zoning ordinance, so we have no parking concerns. My client is able to park their employees on the parking lot that they currently have and on the parking lot that they intend to build. Also, I'd like to bring the attention of the increased landscaping on the southern boundary and also the increased landscaping on the eastern boundary. Those will range in tree width from 3-inch caliper trees to 4-inch caliper trees. A few things I'd just like us to keep in mind is as the property develops and as the use succeeds, these trees will essentially seclude the entire property from the cul-de-sac that is just to the south of us. Next slide. This slide shows a street view of the existing property. Again, this is the single-family R16 home that my client purchased. It's just to the south of their existing building, which we can see on the right-hand side of this picture. Next slide. This slide shows a proposed rendering of what the project will look like when you are on 40th Place facing west. Again, a few things I'd like to call to our attention here is the increased landscaping, those trees that we've agreed to plant along 40th Place. Also, I'd like us to note the modern look of this building, the improvement of it from the red brick that was there. Also, the better engagement to the streetscape that this will have and just the better visual appeal to it to those that drive by it off of Indian School Road. Also, one thing I'd like us all to keep in mind is that, as I've stated, this property is located in Arcadia Light, and Arcadia Light is known for its perfect blend of residential and commercial uses. And by that, I'm thinking about Ingo's Sandwich Shop, I'm thinking about LGO, I'm thinking about Postino's. All of those commercial uses are located in a residential area where neighbors get to walk up to it and enjoy their services. And this is exactly what we are proposing here with this use, and this is exactly what my client envisions for their property. Next slide. I would just like to briefly recap our neighborhood outreach to date. Again, as I mentioned, we got involved in this case in the summer. Since that point in time, my client, Studio Ma, has canvassed the entire neighborhood to talk to each person that lives on the cul-de-sac. Again, we've sent out every letter that we've been required to. We've had the neighborhood meetings that we're required to have. In fact, we've had additional neighborhood meetings. We've had 2 in total. Again, we've heard concerns from neighbors. We've done our best to address those. Again, why and how I think we've addressed the majority of concerns is because we can properly retain all of our parking on site. We are going to have increased landscaping on the south and eastern boundary, and again, there will be no access and no parking on 40th Place. So at this point in time, I'd like to yield the rest of my time for any rebuttal that I might need. Thanks, Mayor and Council.
Thank you. We will next go to Jennifer, and Jennifer, Aaron is also online.
Wonderful. Can you all hear me?
We can.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate our community being able to finally have a voice in this. I will tell you that I am one of the newer residents on this street and purchased my home in July. I'll tell you at that time, my property was shown for one afternoon with multiple offers, went much higher than the original ask. And so I'll tell you that, that to me speaks to the testament of this type of home. I purchased an original red brick home, much like the property that they're proposing to tear down and make commercial. And, as of this last summer, it was a very, very desirable home. And I think a lot of that's due to the shortage in the housing market for lower to mid-level housing. And so to me, it just seems a shame to consider, tearing something down while we have this housing shortage and there are available commercial spaces. And so I can appreciate that this property is convenient, that they built in 2018 and, they're expanding. That's wonderful and healthy. I'm just worried that in a few years they may outgrow the space still, and then we're already committed to being commercial and losing that residence. As far as talking about the meetings that our community has attended, our village planning meeting, we did have 2 confirmed speakers, and somewhere along the way they lost track of those requests and the confirmations that were received. And we also had multiple letters written, and unfortunately, those didn't make the report. And so it's very, very frustrating for our community to attend the village planning meeting and not have a voice or a way to participate from just the mishandling of how that meeting was conducted. When we went from the village planning meeting then to the planning commission meeting, we were able to speak. However, before we were able to even present our concerns, we had committee members kind of praising their Studio Ma projects, and it just felt like we didn't have an unbiased audience to verbalize our concerns. And so here we are today. You'll see that the signatures that were signed for the 3/4 request, those are people that physically live on 40th Place. And so throughout this process, we've looked for people in the community that support the project and want to understand, people that live nearby that do support, because we do want to understand their positions and be respectful of that. In looking at the meeting agenda and just looking at the different attachments and things, I do see that there were a few letters that were sent, but I didn't recognize the names on them. And so in the meeting attachments, pages 641 to 645, they do have some Carrie Bloomston, Chris Kuehl, Oleg Bortman, and Andy C. But in doing just a quick Google search with their name and Studio Ma, it became apparent that these are all previous business contacts and they don't physically live within a few streets of the community. And so this project wouldn't have a daily impact to them like the people that have signed the 3/4 request vote. And so I do want to point that out. Our community still continues to be concerned about the parking issues. The project that we currently do have and the way they've constructed it, there isn't access to 40th Street from their parking lot. However, their proposal is to duplicate what they already have. And we have had parking issues and spillover from their business onto our street. And as we're exiting 40th Place, it is very congested right there. And we've got trees that block our visibility. And so at times it can be very difficult to get in and out of our street. And this is our only access point. As far as looking at just the size and scale of the business and the proposal for the actual footprint of land that they're trying to put this on, I have some definite concerns as far as the overall practicality of this and their longevity to be able to stay in the space once they've implemented this. And so I can tell you that our community is just a very tight-knit community. I know many of them wanted to be here today and had work commitments. And we do, unfortunately, have a few that have some illnesses that are preventing them from being here. But if you were to look to the signature page for the 3/4 request, that is the majority of the homes on this street. that have signed in opposition. And as far as people that physically live on the street that support the project, I have yet to find one. And so with that, I'd like to turn over the remaining time to Erin.
Hello, can everybody hear me?
We can.
Great, thank you. And I appreciate the time to listen to Jennifer's concerns and my concerns. So I'm also one of the newer homeowners on 40th Place. I live at 4022 North 40th Place, and I purchased my home in May. Like Jennifer, based on the extreme housing market, I paid well over asking, and my home is at $1.25 million. At the time, I had no knowledge that there was a residential property on the street that was 3 houses away from mine that was trying to be rezoned. And that would have affected the potential and what I looked at for this small, tight-knit cul-de-sac community. I also, at some of the meetings, they've talked a little bit about like the old red brick and the regentrification. And as Jennifer said, our street has many homes that are valued at over $1 million, and we don't feel like this street really needs to be regentrified. As Jennifer also said, our community has experienced issues with employees from Studio Ma parking on our street in front of our homes in the daytime. We also experience restaurant parking issues from the porch in the evening, which has gotten better with the signs that we have. We also have additional traffic zipping down our cul-de-sac. We also hear garbage trucks at 4:30 a.m. from commercial buildings and apartments to the rear of the home. And so we're very concerned that this rezoned property will also create additional issues based on limited parking and more employees. I have attended every single one of the meetings Studio Ma had prior to these Village Planning Committee meetings. The first meeting, when we had asked them, well, how many additional desks do you have planned? Then we asked them, well, how many additional parking places do you have planned? There were more desks being added than parking places. So I know that even though they have the most appropriate parking places, they said, for the space, we feel like if there's a parking issue already, what is it going to be after this? As Jennifer also mentioned, the extension of the professional office building, the setback, even though it's within the guidelines, the setback to the street, it's much closer to the street. It does not fit with the home. So now we are also reducing our visibility to to Indian School. A concern I have is if we set a precedence to rezone this home, what happens if the home across the street is sold and that there's a potential for that to be rezoned? At what point do we say, okay, no more rezoning happening in our small cul-de-sac? As I mentioned, I also have attended every meeting that Studio Ma has held. And I really came into this with an open mind, trying to come up with a win-win. But based on the meetings, I really have to say, I'm very against this rezoning. As Jennifer said, also, we've had meetings with our neighbors, and we're all unanimously in opposition to this rezoning. We've had multiple neighbors that have lived here for generations, 40 years, two houses down. We have somebody that's lived here for 40 years. Another neighbor that's lived here for 25 years. She spoke at the November meeting. She was very close with the previous neighbors or the previous homeowners of this property. And this property has no longer been maintained the way it was previous. All of us as neighbors would rather prefer a red brick residential home than the professional office use space as they're proposing. I know that they say that it will look better because of the landscaping, and we prefer a residential home to match the rest of ours. We're a quiet, small street, and as Jennifer said, there's also plenty of other commercial spaces already in designated areas that could be used for an expanded office building. And as Jennifer said again, we did have many other opposing neighbors that would have liked to have been here, but with full-time jobs, they could not make a midday meeting. That really wraps up what I have to share about my opposition to this rezoning.
Thank you so much for your testimony. We do have Tucker Blaylock now on the line, so we will go to Tucker.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. My name is Tucker Blaylock. I'm in support of this project. I am the owner of the Brokery, and we're a residential real estate company. and small business very similar to Studio Ma. Our building sits on 40th Street in an infill site similar to Studio Ma, and they're actually the ones that built our building. So we've been through this process with them multiple times. Without companies like Studio Ma, we wouldn't have the fabric of the Arcadia Light neighborhood, such as my company. The Arcadia Light neighborhood is deeply rooted in small businesses, and we don't have chain restaurants, but rather highly respected businesses that each bring their own character to the area. Without the likes of Legrand Orange and Postino, like we talked about earlier, the area would not be what it is today. And Studio Ma is just another move in the right direction. The use of this project is much less intense than many of the other businesses, such as the porch, that backs to half the houses on that street. And additionally, the fact that these three neighbors have paid over asking recently highlights the fact that their building on the corner there, as it currently sits, does not diminish values in that area. And I don't think it will in the far out future as well. Lastly, a failure to disclose by the sellers of the previous homes that was not going to be rezoned is not Studio Ma's fault. That's the seller that sold the property's fault and should not reflect poorly on Studio Ma. That's going to be it for me.
Thank you. Mr. Oliver, it looks like you have 2 minutes remaining if you need it.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'll keep this brief. I'll keep this short. We've heard about fears of a decrease in home value. I'm no economist, but I'd like to highlight the property that's just south of the parcel that we're getting rezoned was recently listed on Redfin and Zillow for sale for about $900,000. It was listed within the past month. As of right now, it's listed as pending. The purchaser of that home would know that there is a zoning case going on the property just north of them, and I believe that the fact that the property is being sold as quickly as it is just highlights the fact that there's no real concern for a decrease in property value. Also, you've heard how there's frustration about those who have signed on in support of our project. I think we need to keep in mind that a city is meant to be all-inclusive, and I think every citizen needs to have an equal and fair share, regardless of where they live. In just closing, Mayor and Council, I'd just like to state that I urge us to consider, the hard work that's occurred with planning staff up until this point. Would urge us to vote to approve not only the Village Planning Committee recommendation, but also the Planning Commission recommendation, and therefore approve this case. Thank you.
Thank you. We will close the public hearing. This case is in Council District 6. Councilman DeCiccio, do you have a motion?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to make a motion to approve. And just to make a couple of comments. One, there were some pretty strong remarks about the village because they were, enthusiastic of this project. They're just citizens that are on that committee. A lot of them are neighborhood leaders and leaders in their own community. So the reason that they're enthusiastic is because the city has always wanted to see this type of growth, these types of projects. And what they do is, and the concerns, and I get the concerns, I understand it, we've heard them throughout. When we did the Legrand Orange, we heard the same concerns, that this was going to hurt property values. Well, in a market, when Legrand Orange came in, it was not a growing market, but the property values in that area grew. So when you look at 40th Street, which I drive quite a bit, pretty much on a daily basis, people that live on 40th Street are going to have a diminished value right off the bat. They're going to have that, regardless what other people have paid on the interior, on the major roadways, they're going to have a diminished value. The way we have seen, and the concerns just don't match the reality, because the reality is when you allow these to go RO and you have other types of uses that are used during the day and then they go home at night, so it's quiet at night, what we have seen is an increased property value in that area, because if we can keep the property values up on these arterials, then you are collectors, I guess 40th would be a collector, then you're going to see an increased value throughout. So the concerns, and there's a reason that a lot of people in neighborhoods throughout the city have wanted to see this and pushed for these types of changes, because this was all citizen driven when we did this. When we first got these things going like this, it was citizen driven because they wanted to see something positive happen on these types of roadways that, as a general rule, people didn't want to live on. So I'm strongly supportive of this. I think they've done all the right things in the village. Again, the reason they're enthusiastic is that they have been trying to get these types of projects in our city. And this, live, work, play is something that people want to see in our community. So again, I support this, and I've got a motion on the table to support it.
I'll second, but you are approving this based on the Planning Commission's recommendation and adopted related ordinance, correct, Councilman?
Yeah, correct. Correct, ma'am. You got it. You know what you're doing.
It's good to have a former planning director to help us through, and a planning director to help us through. Additional council questions or comments? Roll call.
Ansari.
Yes.
DeCiccio.
Yes.
Guardado.
Yes.
O'Brien.
Yes.
Pastor.
Yes.
Stark.
Yes.
Waring.
Yes.
Garcia.
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
That concludes our agendized items. Thank you all who participated. We next go to the final portion of our meeting, public comment from residents, and I will turn to our city attorney to introduce this portion of the meeting.
Thank you, Mayor. During citizen comment, members of the public may address the City Council for up to 3 minutes on issues of interest or concern to them. The Arizona Open Meeting Law permits the City Council to listen to the comments, but prohibits council members from discussing or acting on the matters presented.
Thank you, and I will ask our staff to call the names.
Our first speaker will be Faith Kearns, followed by Steve Schumacher. Faith, are you on the line?
Yes, I am.
We can hear you, and you may proceed.
I'd like to discuss the issue of sanitary for the homeless. Is there any way we can get like more outhouses around the shelter area? Because the shelter itself is closed down at night, and so is all the other places around there. We need more outhouses for these people, not just for their health, but the sanitary of the town of Phoenix. And with that, I'll close.
We have a citizen petition.
And we have a citizen's petition
That we're going to send to the city
that we're
manager.
going to send to the city manager. I close.
Okay, so
Our next speaker is Steve Schumacher, followed by Frank Urban. Steve, are you on the line?
I am here, yes. Thank you. Hopefully I can be heard.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. I just am on the line primarily to just take a minute and publicly and formally say thank you to Mayor Gallego, City Manager Barton, the City Clerk's Office, Denise Archibald and her staff, as well as the other City Council members for your active participation, specifically in the original city flag ceremony and installation unveiling last week. It was just in my mind, a tremendous example of how the city leaders can and should preserve our civic memory. So my hat's off to you and an official public thank you for all of your participation and including me in that as well. The other thing I just wanted to mention, I'm sorry. Okay. The other thing I wanted to mention was that I just recognized today that the city of Tempe, this is their 150th anniversary as a city, and they are putting together a time capsule to be opened in the year 2046. So I just wanted, we kind of lost some of our momentum last year for the 150th of Phoenix because of COVID. But I would just encourage you and plant a seed to try to put a time capsule together to be opened in the year 2045, which would be the 175th anniversary of the city of Phoenix. So thank you for the couple minutes. And again, I appreciate your involvement in allowing me to participate last week.
Our next speaker is Frank Urban, followed by Elizabeth Venable. Frank, are you on the line?
Yes, I am.
You may proceed.
I have a petition about the sanitation area. I think we need more dumpsters in the immediate area of Cass because there are only 2 dumpsters there and they're constantly overflowing. So if we could get some more dumpsters, that would be great, and I'll close with that.
Our final speaker is Elizabeth Venable. Elizabeth, are you on the line?
Yes, I am. Okay, so I have a citizen petition I'm going to read you the text of. It's rather short, so I'll start right now. Okay, Garcia v. Los Angeles is a recent ruling under the Ninth Circuit. It concerns the destruction of bulky items owned by persons living on the street by cities. You are clearly out of compliance with these Fourth Amendment prescriptions. Currently, you are also in non-compliance with the Levon v. City of Los Angeles. During my last citizen petition, you only addressed Martin v. Boise in your response and completely ignored Levon. These are completely different rulings. You cannot seize and destroy any person's property, especially personal property. It's blatantly illegal. In 1 week, I heard of people having their things thrown away because of domestic abuse, preventing them from moving their property in time for the cleanups. Similarly, a pregnant woman had her things taken and trashed in front of her face because she was unable to move them. These are regular occurrences. Even if people relinquish their belongings, you cannot trash them under the law. You must store them for 90 days. Please tell me why you are still in non-compliance with so many federal rulings. Stop trashing the belongings of people experiencing homelessness. Thank you very much. That's the end of my petition. I'll send it, all of them, to the city manager's office. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes today's meeting of the Phoenix City Council. We are adjourned.
A lot of the requirements in the building codes, the evolution of the building codes is a result of past failures or events, even something as catastrophic as a terrorist attack, but they're designed to keep people safe. And so I understand the importance. An event like 9/11 just taught me again